everyone. I am Camille Miller, the founder and executive director of the Natural Life Business Partnership. It is November 7th of 2018, and we are doing our video podcast with Carrie DeJesus on holistic law. What is holistic law? Carrie, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited to be talking to you.
So one of the reasons we asked you to do what we call a member spotlight, which is all of our charter members here at the Natural Life Business Partnership can, well, actually I invite you to come on and talk about your business when I think it's something interesting or I think the public would like to hear, just something a little bit different. You are called a holistic attorney. So I thought that would be really interesting for others to hear about what is holistic law. So I guess my first question is, how do you define holistic law? What does that mean for you?
So it's a little muddy, right? In general, it's not a widely known way to practice law. It developed really out of probably decades ago, this practice of collaborative law, which is really big in family law practices and divorce law, where parties get together, they sit down with attorneys, and they work together as a team, as a group, to come up with best solutions for their families and moving forward. And that really stemmed this movement among attorneys who wanted to stay in the practice of law, but found that it was, whether they didn't want to be in litigation all the time, they didn't want to fight all the time, they didn't want to, have that constant stress of being in an adversarial situation. And what were some of our options? And so, the very first, I would say, forerunner of that was this collaborative law work. And then it kind of started to spread to different areas of practice. Holistic law, the way I describe it and the way I describe it to other people is it's kind of different levels of it. The first level is how I deal with my clients. I see them on a holistic plane, meaning that when they come to me with an issue or a problem, I look a little bit deeper than just what the legal issue is. What's going on in their life in general, how are they feeling, what's their emotional standpoint, how's their physical health doing, and then taking in that whole bigger picture of the client, what's the best way for us to move forward. Also, another layer of this holistic law practice for me deals with how I practice law. I've been practicing law about 10 years, and those first few years were pretty standard in the law practice, right? A lot of stress, a lot of fighting, a lot of everything that you would think of when you're thinking about the practice of law. And it really took a physical, mental, psychological toll on me. So when I decided to make that decision to continue to be in the law, I needed to find a way to do it that would support my health and my well-being. So I take in my day, starts with a meditation or yoga or somehow that's interweaved in my day. Physical health, that I eat well, that I get enough sleep. A lot of that kind of stuff is, pushed off to the side when we have these careers that demand a lot of us. So those are the two main components of what I would call holistic law. And a little bit going back to kind of the history and the background of it, there's other names to this. Some attorneys call this integrative law or a comprehensive law practice. I chose holistic because I also work with a lot of holistic healers and practitioners and people in the healing arts. So there was a little bit of a purposeful kind of almost marketing to choosing that. However, it is an umbrella term for this, way to practice law.
It's almost like medicine. They use the same, functional medicine, collaborative medicine, integrative medicine.
Yeah. I think that, and it has that kind of similar tone to it.
Yeah.
I think this movement in the law practice is kind of, it's in the probably the beginning, more of the beginning stages of it. I don't know a lot of lawyers, let alone people who are not practicing law, who have heard of it.
I'm curious, is there an organization of holistic attorneys, just like there's a bar association? Is there a section of it, or are you seeing holistic attorneys across the nation that are coming together and doing this type of law?
Yeah, I think there's a small but really strong community of lawyers who want to change the way that we're doing our work. The group that comes to the top of my mind as you asked me that question is this group called the Project for Integrating Law and Spirituality. Let me make sure I get this right. Project for Integrating Spirituality, Law, and Politics. They call themselves PISLAP for short. And they usually have a conference every other year or so, held at different law schools around the nation. And they work, within the practice of law and also transforming the legal education. And there's, forerunners of this kind of movement. There's a woman named J. Kim Wright. She's written a couple of books, and she has amazing website pulling everything together called Cutting Edge. I believe it's called Cutting Edge Law. And she kind of pulls all of these different people really from all over the world. And so if you follow one or both of those, that woman or that organization, you can kind of start to dig in and see, what the options are and what, the support systems are. If you want to, there's attorneys out there who are interested in forming a practice a different way.
So we have another holistic attorney actually as a member too. And that person particularly helped me actually do the law work behind this organization. And it was curious, when she went to school, she told me that she actually studied holistic law in school. Do you see that as part of law schools or just a class, or?
I actually haven't heard of that.
Okay.
I thought it was interesting. That makes me so excited to know that it exists.
Yeah.
A lot of the work I've been seeing in the legal education realm is around self-care and, relationship building, making it more of a relational law practice rather than an adversarial law practice. They're coming together and finding common ground and compromise and teaching, law students how to do that. And at the same time, setting up systems for success for them to care for themselves, because the lawyers, right, we have a high rate of substance abuse and stress related illness and suicide and depression and all of these things. So as an overall kind of arching support system, I do find that law schools are really doing a good job, at least the ones that I'm aware of, kind of giving law students these different options on how to support themselves as they work with clients.
While you were speaking, I was looking up a text I received yesterday from this other member, and it was really funny. She's like, I'm actually in a continuing legal education marathon right now, and my current session is called Mindfulness for Attorneys.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
She actually said our presenter is another real estate attorney, but she's a yoga teacher. And I said, is it Carrie? I was like, who would teach this? That's also a yoga teacher.
Yeah, there's a lot of attorney yoga teachers out there, and myself included. We look for these alternatives of ways to take care of ourselves, and then like a lot of people who study yoga or meditation or mindfulness, you start to really fall in love with it, and you want to share it with people, and it just happens.
So I look forward to the day when it's more accepted not to fight, and just try to say, well, here are the issues. Let's work through them one-on-one with respect for each other, and, how that would work.
I think that's why a lot of the other members of this organization are so important, because we need these healers and these, people doing this work that the other members of Natural Life are doing, so that we can start with ourselves, so that can span out into these larger,
beautiful
systems.
We have a question from one of our co-hosts. All of the members of the Natural Life are allowed to join us with these interviews. And we have one from Paul Taubman who says, how do other lawyers feel about holistic law? Do they think you are a pushover? Do they take it seriously? Do they accept this as the right way of practicing? Not in a negative way, but
Yeah,
that's
a good question. I tend to surround myself with more of these holistic integrative attorneys. I do openly speak about it with other lawyers. I have given presentations for bar associations and at conferences. I always think of this one story where I was attending a CLE, a continuing legal ed course. It was a marketing course, and the presenter had mentioned that she does breath exercises to help her calm down, to relieve her stress. But then she said, like, a little aside was, I know that's like foo-foo, or she kind of put it down after she spent so much time telling everyone in the room how helpful it was to her. and that got me a little prickly. And so I happened to mention that I'm also a yoga teacher, and meditation, and that breath work is a really important part of the yoga practice, and it was really scary for me to say that in a room full of attorneys. But I think that if we're going to change the way that we practice them, we need to speak up. But after I was done speaking, the woman sitting in front of me turned around, and she leaned in really close and whispered, "Thank you." And she's like, "I've been meditating for a year, and I feel like I can't talk to other lawyers about it, but it's been so helpful with practice and life and everything." So I think that I was actually listening to Brene Brown's book, Dare to Lead, on the way to work today. And she said, just think of who you're speaking to as people first. So, what lawyers think about me, I honestly don't know what other lawyers think about me. I think that probably some of them think that I may be kind of a little too soft, and I would never say that the way I work works well for every area of law. I wouldn't want to be all warm and fuzzy with someone who had committed, a heinous crime or domestic violence, right? There's a time and a place for being, holding a firm line and not being all warm and fuzzy. But, the way I choose to practice in the areas I choose to practice in, it works well for me.
So have you turned down people that you don't feel very aligned with? Is that something that you look like? I would think owning your own practice gives you that flexibility of saying, this feels good, this doesn't feel good.
Yeah. And that's, a big reason that I opened up my own practice, was to have that flexibility and to say, being in the yoga world, I'm very centered, body centered, right? So I get a physical reaction right away to clients that I know are just going to drain me. And so, I've had to say, I don't think that this is, the right fit. And I have really strong boundaries and guidelines. I put them on my website. And I can sit and I can tap into that feeling sense, and I know right away whether it's going to be a draining experience or an empowering experience for both of us.
So what type of law are you specializing in?
So I do mainly transactional things, meaning that I don't really go to court too much. That was a purposeful decision, because I find litigation and being in the courts and really being on someone else's schedule, the court schedule, to be really stressful to my body and my nervous system and everything. So I mainly do estate planning and small business planning. I have a background in estate planning, probate, things that happen after someone dies, guardianships. And so I draft things like wills and powers of attorney and living wills, health directives, those kinds of things. And then I also have a really big soft spot for small businesses and entrepreneurial work, and particularly within the healing arts and, body workers, meditation teachers, yoga teachers, energy workers, those kinds of people, counselors. So I do a lot of work around setting up small business formations, contracts, making sure agreements are in alignment, reviewing agreements and contracts for people, doing like a business wellness evaluation. I have some trainings lined up in conscious contracts, which is another part of our movement where we conscious contracts is this amazing idea of entering into agreement with another party based on this idea of relationship and building something together rather than trying to tear people apart. And, I'm planning on getting my mediation certification in the beginning of next year as well.
So when you say the mediation, is that for divorce and separation?
I'm hoping to do more civil stuff. I don't really have a strong background in family law and divorce law, and that's a beast of it all on its own. So it would be more civil side, contracts, disagreements, those things.
Nice. Yeah. The conscious contracts actually. Is that is that something new? I've never heard of that, but it's like relationship building when two partners or businesses come together. It's
actually, I don't want to step on, it's actually a trademarked program.
I'm sorry. Okay.
There's an attorney, forgive me, I forget where she's based, but her name is Linda Alvarez, and she came up with this idea. She has a book out, I think it's I can't recall the name of it, but it lays out this idea of, what are your values? What are your boundaries? What are your goals of something? Usually it's around business. What are you creating? And when, usually when we write a contract, we really build the contract with the assumption that one party is going to break a promise to the other, and who are we going to hold responsible when somebody screws up. But what if we could shift it and really kind of get down to the core of our values and our desires, and decide that we're going to build something together, and if somebody messes up, there's these fail safes in place where you can come together and you can sit down and you can work through it rather than, going to court and suing each other.
Beautiful.
Yes.
I'm glad that something like that is existing. I think it just
proves
that
it exists, and I'm so excited to take the training when it comes up.
Yeah. And to give you another plug, and us as well, that you're coming back next month just to talk about business questions we might have in the holistic world in our own community. And we're actually going to be polling some members about questions they might have in their own business that maybe you can help answer. So if you're watching this on replay, you can also Google for that podcast or video cast when that comes out as well. So that should be a really good one for us.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one, right? As a way to kind of answer basic questions for people. Part of, this idea of boundaries and being a holistic practitioner in the law is, I can't give advice, right, without really being on the hook. And so there's, if we, reframing it in this kind of educational way makes me feel comfortable, and it aligns with what my boundaries are, but also it allows me to help people. And that's win-win.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And we appreciate you doing it as we build these holistic entrepreneurs, so I think everything's coming in alignment, which is nice. So I just want to ask our co-host, our membership, if you have any questions for Carrie, you can type that in the chat box. You're welcome to come on video if you'd like, but most people like to put that in the chat box to see if there's anything else. Carrie, what's your favorite part of the holistic law? Your favorite part of your practice that you like doing?
My favorite part is meeting with clients and spending the time with my clients, sitting down with them, getting to know them, getting to know their stories and their backgrounds, and figuring out the best way that I can help them. that's always been my favorite part of practicing law. Sitting down with people and really getting to know them. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think you've answered all of our questions. Is there anything that we should know going forward?
I mean, I'm here. I'm here if you need any help. Estate planning, I don't get too in depth with estate planning, but that's kind of purposeful as well. Setting up my practice to kind of serve the clients who kind of fall in between, right? I mean, we have, some good options for people who need a little bit of financial assistance, through our legal service programs and things like that in the state and other states in this country. And then, we have the high price, $400 an hour attorneys, right? And so, in addition to the specific practice areas, this kind of in between, us regular people who just need some legal guidance or something drawn up for them and they're not quite comfortable doing it themselves. That's, where I fall.
I would think basic business documents as well, as people are opening up, especially our own audience that probably listens is mostly holistic practitioners, business owners. Carrie, what states are you licensed in?
So I'm licensed in New Jersey and New York.
Okay.
I don't practice in New York right now, though.
Okay.
It's just a matter of keeping up all of the requirements and I don't. There are strict laws, right, of where you can practice. I don't have a physical office in New York, so it can get a little tricky ethically as an attorney to practice in states where you don't have a physical presence. So right now I'm just in New York. My office is based in Skillman, but I'll be moving to Lawrenceville in the new year. And I guess another good thing to know about me is that I often travel to my clients. So if you can't come to my office, within reason, I'll come to you. And I work with, a lot of people who are busy, they have multiple businesses or children or, parents that they're taking care of. So I also, see people on the weekends if that's easier for people. And it kind of, it's not a hardship for me. It's, it's fine for me to come to you or see people on the weekends.
That's a nice perk. I think I had told you that I ended up changing bookkeepers because now she just comes to me.
Yeah.
It's nice that we can sit here and just do it, especially.
Yeah, and it gets me out of the office, which I like too.
I like that. Yeah, terrific. So if people want to get in touch with you, what is the best way?
The best way is probably through my website because, like I just said, I'm in the process of moving locations. So it's www.DeJesus, that's DEJESUS, holisticlaw.com.
Very nice. Well, I thank you for coming out today and talking with us about what is holistic law. It was really interesting to find out what you're doing. And that's about all I have. So thank you for coming. And I appreciate everyone else that joined us on the line today to be a part of this interview. I always appreciate all of my co-hosts. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I like talking to you. And I'm so happy to have found this group. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.